Hey there, how we doing, everybody? This is OhmDawg coming at you with another Veve price action update. Today we are getting into the drop we have here in a few hours, as well jumping into kind of an AMA overview, kind of my thoughts and some of the major things I kind of took away from it, as well as jumping into the MCP revisions. So without further ado, I'm going to throw up the disclaimer and I will catch you on the other side. This is not financial advice. This video is for educational purposes only. Trading with money involves risk. I'm not responsible for any decisions you make based off this information. Alright, so jumping over to the Veve Medium article, we obviously have Storm dropping here in a few hours at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. And this is basically the beautiful digital statues featuring Marvel's heroes and villains in their most recognizable costumes. So essentially we've had the Spider-Man in this sort of format. We've had Captain America in the same format, and as well as now Storm in the same format. This is the giant X-Men #1. Storm has become one of the most powerful mutants on Earth, a trusted and wise senior leader of the X-Men and a veteran member. So very cool. We have our common at 16,500 editions, our uncommon at 12,500 editions, our rare at 6,500 editions, our ultra rare at 3650, and our secret rare at 1,500 editions, and these are both animated. So very cool, and this drop will be in a blind box format. So you do not know what you get until you get your green truck delivery confirmation on the collectibles. So, and the listing price will be 50 gems. So, moving forward, good luck on this drop, everybody. I hope you all score on this. Without further ado, we're going to jump over to the Medium article for the revision notes real quick. So, they've obviously updated the drop lottery, the set points, collectible secret rare points, comic points, comic series points, and point limitations. And those were, I guess, the main highlighted updates within the revision. But the drop raffle. So the MCP drop lottery is now the MCP drop raffle. Instead of bidding individual points, collectors will now purchase drop raffle tickets with their points. Drop raffle win probability will increase with the number of raffle tickets purchased. Additionally, any collector who is not successful in the drop raffle will have 90% of their points returned. So that's pretty cool. So you're not just gambling away all of your tickets into one drop and then not having any MCP points later in the future. So that will be very cool. And I'm kind of glad to see that, and I'm glad it's also not just 100% return. You know, there is some sort of risk to it in terms of the MCP points, but you're not losing everything. Set points. So the set points have been slightly reduced from a maximum of 6 points to 5 points, as they gave too much advantage to those on the collectible and sets track compared with those collecting just comics, for example. So this was obviously Veve's way of kind of balancing the playing field for those, for instance, collecting obviously comics. And then moving on to collectible points for the secret rares. We recognize the value and effort required to obtain a collectible secret rare, non-comic, unless you are lucky enough to score one on a drop. As such, points for collectible secret rares have been increased from 0.5 points to 5 points. So obviously we are now seeing those deserving points for the secret rares. So very cool to see. So congrats to the secret rare holders as well. Collectible points and the low mint bonuses. So for collectibles, the low mint collectible bonus has been updated from sub 150 to the top, or to the 5% lowest mints. So initially we were going to see the I think it's around 300. Moving on to our comics points and daily. We acknowledge the Master Collector Program version point or 0.1 comic points were not as balanced as they could have been for collectors who focused collecting on comics. As such, the comic points have been revised. For example, collectors will now get 0.25 points for a common and up to 6 points for a secret rare, and then everything in between is obviously an interval from uncommon to ultra rare, and obviously increasing. So moving on to comic points, low mint bonuses. So a comic low mint points plus 0.5 points earned for the lowest 5% lowest comic or mint comic available to the public. So I think this is as well, for some it's going to be around the mint numbers, I think 500, and then the others are going to be around 1,000 for, kind of like the first drops, as well as the most recent Spider-Man Green Goblin FA. So moving on, comic point series. So the comic point series have been removed from the points table as the comic daily points have now been increased. So you don't have to collect those 3 pieces of a comic in a row in order to get, I guess, those obtained points, because it's already kind of balanced itself out. And then now our point limitations. So point limitations have been included in the MCP overview, which outlines measures to prevent the point system from being gamed. So I guess this is sort of a whale breach system, I guess. So that is basically the revision. And yeah, that's pretty much all from that. So now moving on to the AMA. So recapping that, basically this AMAs, AMAs are usually, it means ask me anything. So for the most part, we heard a lot of, questions from the community. Some of them are relatively repetitive, but that's, any given growth, we're going to see a lot of new things. And I think every single AMA that we host, or that they host on Twitter, is record breaking in terms of participants listening during the AMA. One thing obviously that we heard a good bit of was, the bots and how they were going to fix that and what was going on. And from the bots, they're essentially going to be fixing the drop system, and obviously they've also stated that they have certain security elements in place and measures as well. KYC, or I think they said as low as the CAPTCHAs, is the lowest security requirement that they have in place. And then others as well, and they said bots do slip by, and they if they hit them twice, then they will get them the 3rd time. So that being said, they're also stating they are mentioning a 0 tolerance policy. So just please, they're asking to just not use bots and just play fairly. But of course, we're always going to have bad apples within the bunch. So unfortunately, it's okay. That's part of the growth, and it's a good thing in essence. So the new drop system, I didn't hear too much about this because I got in the AMA a little late, but apparently we're moving to a new drop system later in the year, or as early as January. And I think this will be obviously after IMX and everything. But essentially it's going to be I guess another kind of waiting room thing. I think I heard, that's what I heard most of. So I think unfortunately the classic drops might be going due to volume, which will be sad to see, but we will have to adapt to it and overcome, obviously, and move forward with the company and support them as we're moving forward, because we are all heavily invested into this. So one major thing I heard was, I think Dan stated we were not in phase 2 yet of the IMX conversion. So if you haven't seen my last video on that overview, you could check that out. But it mentions, phase 2 is the minting, and Dan said the reasoning behind that was due to, we're obviously having all these drops. It's going to take a lot longer to mint because it's, we're, minting already hundreds of thousands on the Go chain as these drops continue on. So I think that was their official statement, from what I got at least, was, it's a lot of drops and a lot of minting to do. So I was personally under the impression that we were already in phase 2 and kind of moving out of that, but that's okay. This is a smaller company, and we obviously want to let them focus on the scalability, which is another thing they touched on as well. The scalability, that kind of draws into a lot of the legal info currently. They are operating in a lot of parts of the world, which means, a lot of governments to work with, a lot of jurisdictions. So it is a lot of legal stacking paper, which is also kind of the MTL questionability, why that's taking so long. A lot of people are wondering about that as well within the community questions. And it's just down to, there's taxes in here, there's taxes there, different tax rates in different parts of the world. And I think he was also mentioning that their government in New Zealand was implementing a tax as well that will make them have to accept GST over there in New Zealand in order to pay these taxes and they also have to pay other taxes in certain other currencies, so it's a lot of moving around as well. So it's important to kind of give them that space as well, in my personal opinion. And then kind of closing everything out, David was he was mentioning he couldn't really release anything, any hints or any secrets, which is, I guess, good, because that means something big that would break the app as the state it's in as of now. Two things he did say that we were getting that he really wanted to implement. So we already have our collectibles, we have our comics. Another thing he was mentioning was a variety of things like stamps, which adds a new kind of collectible to the market. But he did say we were going to be getting into the sports. Obviously, that's been on the list for a while, but he did touch on the sports. And then another huge thing, which would be music. So imagine that in Veve, music and sports, it's all coming together into play. So without further ado, everybody, that is pretty much all I got for you today. A lot of the AMA was filled with community questions, so we did just get to see their MCP revision, and then state a few other things as well. So without further ado, this is OhmDawg coming at you with another Veve price action update, and I will catch you guys in the next Omi price action update dropping tomorrow. Thank you so much, and I will see you at 600 subscribers, and I'll see you at 1K subscribers, and I'll see you at 2.5K subscribers, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.